In just 3 short years, the Chinese Zong Shen team have gone from being almost an object of ridicule in the Fisherman's Friend World Endurance Championship paddock to being one of the strongest and most professional teams that World Endurance has ever seen. The 2002 championship saw 6 different winners from 5 different teams, proving the strength of the field. But crucially, Zong Shen as a team won both at Silverstone and Vallelunga, with Britain's Phase 1, France's GMT 94 Endurance 38 teams, and Japan's Cabin Honda all winning 1 round each. Not only did Zong Shen take the championship, clever footwork from team manager Michael Marcoton and his 3 fastest riders, Warwick Nolan, Stefan Mertens and Bruno Bonoy, meant that Zong Shen also secured 2nd in the championship at the last round in Vallelunga. The Chinese owned the 2002 championship, but with very limited winter testing, could they come out fighting at the first of 8 rounds in 2003 at Imola? The passion for racing and speed has been in the blood of the people of Imola since ancient times. In 80 BC, it already had an amphitheatre of its own, where 2-horse chariot races were held, and the image of the prancing horse still stands above the present track. The first ever race here was the Coney Motorcycle Grand Prix, being held in 1953. But the first of 8 rounds of the 2003 Fisherman's Friend World Endurance Championship was always going to attract great Italian interest, with both Ducati and the new 1000cc Mondial V-Twin having a permanent team presence for the whole season. Indeed, Ducati were not only running their proven 998R, but also had entered 2 999s for Imola, with Dario Marchetti's Ducati Rider Experience team. Grand Prix riders past and present were also here: 250cc GP star Marco Melandri and former Grand Prix 500 champion Marco Lucinelli, who'd be riding for the Ducati Cuneo team. Aprilia had entered a 1000cc RSV Superbike, but the biggest threat to the established teams was thought to be the brand new Superbike specification R1 run by Yamaha Austria. The champions from last year again had 2 teams, with Igor German, Bruno Bonoy and Pier-Giorgio Bontempi on the number 2 machine, Warwick Nolan and Stefan Mertens riding the number 1. What did team manager Michael Marcoton think of Zong Shen's chances this year?
I think the chance for 2003 season are the same than for 2002. You know, as me, then during the season everything can happen. Look, a lot of teams were very strong last year, like GMT 94, Phase 1, but they have no luck. They crash or a technical problem, and worse things can happen in our team. We have just to work on luck.
That luck, it seems, wasn't on the side of the Phase 1 junior team in Imola, with rider David Carr suffering a suspected fractured leg and chest trauma in a qualifying crash, and another rider, Henry Fincher, suffering from the heat and being sick on the bike while posting his fastest laps. Ducati's former GP champion Marco Lucinelli was happy with his 5th place on the Ducati, the Cuneo team running the proven 998R with a brand new standard engine. The Phase 1 junior team were now down to 2 riders, and the youngsters on the number 6 bike were clearly suffering from the heat. Meanwhile, Zong Shen Team 1's Warwick Noland and Team 2's Igor German were trying to outdo each other. In qualifying, Noland had the demonstratively quicker bike. Mike Edwards had moved from Phase 1 at the end of last season and was riding on the number 11 Track Day Suzuki, showing his much younger teammates how it was all done. The Team X1 Mondial was putting on a great show, the booming Oscar Rumi-tuned Honda engine V-Twin qualifying in a respectable 22nd place out of 38 entries. Rider Maurizio Bagliacci said, "It's our policy to show the fantastic quality of the bike, so we've come to Imola to prove the standard machine. Oscar Rumi has given us a very well prepared Honda engine, prepared close to Superbike standard, and all the rest of the bike is totally standard, including the tyres, and that's what we'll be racing." With Oscar Rumi in the pits to help with the engine, the number 7 machine carried a special tribute for the most famous number 7 rider of all, the late Barry Sheene. But such is the strength of the Chinese Zong Shen team that with very little pre-season testing they dominated qualifying, Igor German putting the number 2 third on the grid.
Oh, it's a short race. I like long races, so yeah, I think I did quite well. I went a lot faster than last year, so I'm quite happy and looking forward to start and do the best.
The Phase 1 senior team with Fort and Ellison were able to split the Zong Shen team for a second place.
But I think we'll do well. I mean, Olivia's going really well and both of us working together. The team's working absolutely brilliant. We've hopefully made the right tyre choice for tomorrow, hopefully, if the weather's fine. Yeah, let's just go for it.
But the Zong Shen number 1 team of Noland and Mertens were once again on pole.
So after the practice, really, I think I can smile because, of course, the pole position that Warwick did, but my lap time was quite close. I'm directly on the pace, so I'm very happy about my physical condition, and also quite happy with the team and the setting of the bike. For it's the first race, and we are already quite happy. So you can always improve, but it's a very good start.
So there are the qualifying times. Zong Shen in first and third, split by Phase 1. And with grid positions this year set by the fastest rider and not an average of the whole team, it remains to be seen if the other top 10 qualifiers could maintain their places during the race. Any form of motor racing comes with its own special dangers. Crashes are a part of the sport and great lengths are gone to reduce the chances of injury. In world endurance, with a large number of machines on track and with a huge amount of overtaking, the riders have their own special problems. The danger of crashing and being injured is always there, but thankfully expert medical help is always on hand. Dr. Claudio Costa, who runs the Clinica Mobile, explains the dangers present in racing.
Ho avuto l'esperienza di tante 200 miglia.
He says, I have a lot of experience with 200-mile racing, and I can see that the injuries we have today are the same as they've always been. For example, today we have riders that can either run off the track or hit other riders, and the injuries that riders on the track suffer can be the same as the injuries suffered on the road. When riders leave the track at high speed and hit a stationary obstacle, the injuries can be very serious, and unfortunately, and very sadly, they can also prove fatal. The first of 8 rounds of the 2003 Fisherman's Friend World Endurance Championship is the 200 miles of Imola around the 4.933 kilometre track. Former Grand Prix champion Marco Lucinelli says the way to a quick lap lies in 4 key corners.
Un circuito abbastanza difficile.
And Marco says it's a difficult track to ride with 4 very important points. We arrive at maximum revolutions in 6th gear at Tamburello with hard braking to get through the wide chicane.
Velocemente fare la S.
Another important point is braking for Villeneuve to arrive at the Tosa corner in 3rd gear, and this is important to maximise your speed down the straight in order to gain time. Another 2 points of major importance are going down into the Piratella and Acqua Minerale, 2 corners where you can't see your exit and you need to get your exit just right. Down into the Rivazza you'll need to be very brave, as you can make up a lot of time, because from 260 kilometers an hour you have to turn the next corner in 2nd gear before the dash to the finish. And if you can do this as fast as me, you'll win the race. Sunday race day was a carbon copy of last year, very hot and totally clear skies. With pole in the first race of the season, Warwick Nolan's confidence was sky high. The Yamaha Austria Superbike team were also looking for a good result as they qualified using a standard engine, with team rider Irvin Wilding working on it until 3 a.m. Sunday morning to rebuild the Superbike specification engine in time for the race, and among his rewards was an appearance by Miss Formula One Austria. It was going to be 200 miles, 66 laps on a high-temperature track, and tyre choice would be critical, with 5 GSXR 1000 Super Production Suzukis, 2 Yamaha R1s, 2 Ducatis and 1 Kawasaki in the top 10. It was the first time in many races that France's GMT 94 hadn't made the top 10. They qualified in 12th place. Team manager Christophe Guillot clearly unhappy with their Super Production Yamaha R1. There was a lot to prove in this first race, and as the teams from 10 different countries lined up for the traditional endurance-style start, the top riders were hoping that they would be able to get away from the pack early. As the flag dropped for the massed running start, Zong Shen's Igor German got the drop on everybody and fired the Zong Shen number 2 into the lead, followed by Phase 1's Olivier 4, the track day's number 11 of Mike Edwards, Warwick Noland on the Zong Shen number 1 Suzuki, and Carl Trucces on the number 9 Yamaha R1 Superbike. With some of the lower grid running off the track at the start, including Andrea Perselli on the X1 Mondial, the main challengers had thankfully avoided any start line problems. After only the first few corners, Olivier 4 had taken the Phase 1 Suzuki to the front with the intention of making a break for it, while Warwick Noland was being held up by teammate Igor German and Mike Edwards on the track day's number 11. During the first few laps, riders further down the field had to take extra care as their tyres needed time to get up to race temperature. Already out of sight of the cameras, the first lap had claimed its first casualty, with Mark Kingston on the second track day Suzuki, the number 10, running off at Tosa. The leading 5 machines were immediately running at race pace, the 999 Ducati DRE number 101, the Bollinger number 8 Kawasaki and the Endurance 38 Yamaha, all trying to close the gap that had opened after the first few corners. Phase 1 strategy was to keep their fastest rider, Olivier 4, on the machine as long as possible. Because Imola was a sprint event, many teams were running only 2 out of 3 riders, notably Zong Shen team number 1 and the Phase 1 number 3 seniors. As they crossed the line at the end of the first of 66 laps, it was Phase 1 in the lead, followed by the number 2 Zong Shen bike, then it was track day's number 11, the Zong Shen number 1 machine, Yamaha Austria's number 9, the number 98 Ducati Cudneo, the Bollinger Kawasaki number 8 Endurance 38, the first of the 999 Ducatis, the number 101, and in 10th place the Polish number 40 Suzuki of Poland position. By this time, Olivier 4 on the Phase 1 number 3 had made a bit of a gap, with Warwick Noland on the number 1 bike still stuck behind Edwards in 4th place and looking for a place to get past. Mike Edwards had joined the track days team to pass across his vast knowledge of endurance racing to the team's younger members, who were not expected at this time to be able to match his performance on the number 11 machine. As they came around to complete the second lap, there was a very clear lead already for the first 4 bikes, with the Yamaha Austria Superbike trying desperately to close the gap. Warwick Noland took advantage of the run down to Tamburello to slipstream the number 11 machine into 3rd place. Yamaha Austria team manager Manfred Kainz said they had a problem in qualifying when they had some damage to their Superbike engine and had to qualify with a standard engine complete with ram air and inlet restrictors. The team had worked all night with rider Erwin Wilding to rebuild the Superbike engine and finally finished at 3 o'clock in the morning, ready for the race. By now it was becoming obvious that Phase 1's strategy of making an early break hadn't worked. The Phase 1 team had spent an almost continuous 17 days in testing at various tracks over the winter, with Zong Shen doing very little testing of their own, but they still couldn't break the Chinese team. On top of this, they were starting to have tyre problems in the heat, Olivier clearly asking too much of his rear tyre and struggling for grip. As they crossed the line again, it was clear that they dropped Mike Edwards on the track day's number 11, whose bike seemed much louder than it should have been. Down in the pits, much of the interest, of course, was centred around Ducati, with even Grand Prix superstar Marco Melandri dropping in for a visit.
Yeah, I know many riders here, and I'm here to say hello to Lucchinelli because I'm very fan of him, very fan of his son, and I like to see the bikes always.
By lap 7, the number 1 and 2 Zong Shen bikes were swapping places. Noland on the number 1 machine finally getting the upper hand by lap 10, and on lap 11 he passed Olivier 4 to take the lead, immediately pulling a gap which opened to over 1.3 seconds by the end of that lap. By this time, Edwards was in 4th place, 9 seconds down. The Yamaha Austria number 9 a further 6 seconds back, and the number 5 Ducati 998 of Marc Garcia, with the number 101 Ducati 999 of Paolo Tesseri in a hard fight over 6th place. Back markers were already coming into view, and Warwick Noland had decided not to hang about. He tried to make life as difficult as possible for anybody who tried to chase him. Meanwhile, for ex-GP champion Marco Lucinelli, their race was over. The 5th place qualifying Ducati Cuneo machine, the 998, it was out of the race.
We don't know. The problem is engine problem, and but it's very strange because the bike is a standard bike, and with the new engine we make only practice yesterday. We don't know what happened.
Warwick Nolan, though, is in a class of his own, lapping a second faster than his closest competitor on the Zong Shen #1 Suzuki. Mike Edwards on the track day's number 11 bike had to pit early after the exhaust bracket broke off and the bike lost its silencer. That immediately ruined their race strategy, but as the first of 2 mandatory team pit stops began, it was clear that, as in 2002, the Zong Shen team were going to be extremely hard to beat.
Igor was holding me up a little bit, and then I finally got past him, and then I saw the back markers were coming, and I thought, I'm not getting held up, so I went. So yeah, it was all right, and just settled down to a race pace that we were working on during practice and qualifying, so it's worked out all right. I just hope Stefan can keep going.
The Phase 1 number 3 bike was currently leading as the team had decided to keep Olivier Faure out for 28 laps before pitting, but it was clear that when the bike rejoined the race, they'd lose that lead to Zong Shen.
We are not good on our shows of rear tire. The carcass is too soft, the temperature too hot, and the bike has many movements. You're always in battle with the bike, and it's good to do 10 or 15 laps, but not 50 minutes.
Now Belgian Stefan Mertens was on the number 1 bike and leading. Stefan had recovered from injuries in the crash last year and had never raced before at Imola. The Zong Shen number 2 was second with Phase 1 third, and the Yamaha Austria R1 Superbike up to 4th place. Rider Carl Trousset said, I'm very lucky, we've been practicing with the standard engine and now we have a much stronger engine, and from the start I got into 5th place. It's all working perfectly, and with this team at this time it's going great. But while Yamaha Austria were lying 4th, the semi-official French Endurance 38 team with backing from Yamaha France were chasing them down on the super production R1.
It's difficult. The weather is very hot, and it's difficult for tires. But the bike is good, and the team is very good, and I'm happy for the first race.
So while both Zong Shen bikes were first and second, there was a 20-second gap between them, with Phase 1 30 seconds behind in third. Yamaha Austria in 4th, Endurance 38 up to 5th, but Police Nationale number 22 running the Suzuki instead of last year's Kawasaki were trying to close the gap. As the final round of pit stops began, the number 2 Zong Shen bike would lose second place to ex-world supersport rider James Ellison on the Phase 1 bike, as Zong Shen's Bruno Benoit handed over to Pierre-Giorgio Bontempi. Bontempi was able to sneak back into second place just before Phase 1 had to pit for their last time. James Ellison handing the bike back to Olivier Faure for the final session.
Yeah, we had a bit of a battle at the end with Bontempi. That was good fun. Obviously he's the main guy at the minute. He's just 1 place ahead of us by about a second. And unfortunately I lost that for us then. But Olivier's riding well. He's out there now and hopefully should make the time up again.
Phase 1 team manager Russell Benny was particularly hopeful for his team's race strategy.
This is all out racing, this is, Clive. We're absolutely on it. Zong Shen are absolutely flying. Warwick Nolan, can't believe it. He's a clear second in quicker than Olivier Faure, our man. But Olivier showed him the way in the first 10 laps or so, and it's a great battle. We're now playing fuel strategy. Zong Shen have opted for a very long final stint for Warwick. Our strategy is not quite the same because we wanted to utilise James Ellison in the middle, but Olivier Faure is going to be on it in those last half hour.
But Warwick Nolan himself was pushing hard in the last stint, sometimes asking too much of his rear tyre. Olivier Faure was looking smooth and in control as he fought to close the gap to Pier-Giorgio Bontempi on the number 2 Zong Shen bike in second place. One of the pre-season favourites, GMT 94, was struggling with their super production R1, which was down on power, but superb pit stops and riding by Sebastian Scarnato and manager rider Christophe Quillot had elevated them into the top 10. Endurance 38 were taking no prisoners in their battle with Yamaha Austria, pushing up to 4th with aggressive riding Fabrizio Guerra on the number 21 DMG Racing Suzuki 750 Superbike, one victim of the flying super production Yamaha. Other riders also paid the price for their lack of attention while trying to follow the fast riders around the Tota corner. Sad news though for the team X1 Mondial number 7. Brake problems for Andrea Pacelli saw the brand new V-Twins debut race end after a crash at the Tota hairpin. The rider okay, but the bike too damaged to continue. Five laps before the end of the race, some major problems surfaced for the second place Zong Shen bike, Pier-Giorgio Bontempi, coming into the pits with a slipping clutch. They might have been able to complete the race using a single gear, but manager Mikel Marketon thought that wouldn't be a good idea.
No, impossible. The clutch was sliding, and it don't take the risk to stop on the track. It can be catastrophic for us. It's better to have first place and third place than first place on nothing.
But 2 laps later, Bontempi was in again, and this time the number 2 Zong Shen machine could not complete the race. That put the Endurance 38 into 3rd place for just 1 lap, as they ran out of fuel with 1 lap to go. And Yamaha Austria number 9, instead of getting their hoped for 5th place, was suddenly on the podium. But it was a dominant win for Warwick Nolan and Stefan Mertens on the number 1 bike, with only phase 1 number 3 finishing on the same lap. Warwick understandably ecstatic with his first win of the season. So the place is still a tale, 1 minute and 12 seconds in front of phase 1 with the Zong Shen number 1 team. Yamaha Austria getting a podium place that they never in their wildest dreams expected they would get. Police National up to 4th place and GMT getting up to 6th. The first race of the season and Zong Shen were on top form, but the strength of phase 1 had showed they'd be a strong competitor this year, and Yamaha Austria now had a reputation of a podium finish to live up to in future. With the first ever podium for the Yamaha R1 Superbike in World Endurance for Yamaha Austria, the team run by Manfred Kainz, this was more than they'd ever expected.
I said to my team chef, it only can go better, but this was a joke. Yeah, we will see. I can't say anything for the next race. I think we are getting better than now. I hope we can be next time on the podium without luck, only with racing, without speed.
The phase 1 pairing of Olivier Faure and James Ellison got second place, but Ellison in particular was disappointed with his performance.
I don't know what it is with the circuit or the heat or whatever, or the wrong tyre choice. But yeah, it's disappointing really. I mean, I should have been better. I should have been up the front with Olivier, and maybe we could have won it. But who knows?
But for team manager Mikel Marketon and riders Warwick Nolan and Stefan Mertens, the win was their first at Imola as a team, and Mertens' first as a rider.
Warwick could pull a gap in his first round, and when I went again, I could increase the gap. So we could. Warwick went on the last moment and on the last round for him, and he could control the race. So we were very, very lucky because for us this weekend was 100% perfect.
So great news for the number 1 bike, but not so good news for the Zong Shen number 2, scoring no points at all. Zong Shen team 1, 25 points. Phase 1 getting 20. Yamaha Austria with 16. Police Nationale 13. Bollinger Kawasaki getting 11 points, and GMT in the points with 10. So the podium celebrations for James Ellison of Phase 1 breaking the cork and unable to join fully in the celebrations this time. Let's hope his luck will be better for the second round, the 200 miles of Assen on May the 25th.